Good evening. Wanted to welcome you and thank you for coming out tonight, and welcome to coming to Christa McAuliffe STEM Academy. I'm Jeff Peterson, the principal. I wanted to take just a few seconds and thank you guys for all of your support as we've been able to grow and work with our community, and thank you for passing the bond so we're able to do these renovations and additions. So thank you for taking the time. Hopefully we can give you guys an idea of what's going on tonight and answer some of your questions. So it's my pleasure to introduce Kent Henson, our Assistant Superintendent of Support Services.
Okay, good evening again, and want to welcome you here tonight. And we had really thought about having this meeting a couple months ago, but going around with masks and knocking on doors kind of wasn't the in thing to do. So we appreciate you coming outside and kind of listening to our message tonight. And what I want to tell you is although you saw, I know the trailers being moved out there, there's been a lot of work that's been done on this project with our design team and with the city of Greeley, working on permits and really at a pretty quick pace when you look at the passing of the bond was just in November. So there's quite a bit of work that's been done, and we are getting really close to getting ready to start moving some dirt and having fun. So part of the purpose of the meeting tonight was, if you remember last spring, seems like it was forever ago. I don't know. I think it wasn't last spring, because that was COVID. Yeah, it was last fall, I guess, that we had a meeting and listened to some concerns. We knew the, traffic in the neighborhood was a problem. And, I want to let you know that, and what I told you we would do when we interviewed for contractors, and I think they would agree that when we did our walk, we talked about the site and the ability to get more cars on site for pickup and drop off was as important as anything else that we design in this building. And so, honestly, a lot of the initial part of the design process has been on the site and getting that approved with the city of Greeley so that we can hold a lot more cars on this site during those times of the day, and we're not parking up where where. So that was just a huge thing that we talked about from the beginning, and the design team took it seriously. And that's really what we spent the first couple months talking about, was not inside, but what are we going to do about outside? So what I'd like to do is just kind of introduce some people here. We have an owner's rep, RLH Engineering. This is Chuck Jordan. And he is heading up this team for this project, and works with the district and works with all the contractors in our interest. And RLH actually has a person on each of our jobs that we have going on right now. And then our design team is over here. So we have Carrie Ellen Mock, who is with the architect group, the Cunningham group. And so she's representing them today, and you'll hear from them. And then the guys in the yellow are our general contractors, except Thad took his off. But this is Thad Linneman. And then we have Joe Audis, who's the guy that lives out in the construction trailer, so you'll see him on site quite a bit. And then we have Bruce Zink and Nathaniel Phelps. And so they are Sampson Construction. And so we want to welcome them tonight. And then what we're going to do is show you a little bit about the design. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how construction will work on the site. And then we'll give you an opportunity to ask questions at the end. So, Carrie Ellen?
Can you hear me? Whoa, even I can hear me now. Woo. Okay, so it might be hard to see, but you also have this in your handouts. So I'm Carrie Ellen Mock with Cunningham Group Architecture, and we were lucky and fortunate to get to work with the district during the master plan process that preceded the bond. So I want to echo Kent's thanks to the community for passing the bond, because the amount of positive impact that is happening here in this community is really amazing. So here at McAuliffe, we want to talk through just a few key things, and then you'll hear more detail from the construction side of the team here. So if you look at the site plan drawing, you'll see that there's a light gray shape, and that's the existing building, so what we're sitting right next to. And then there's a darker gray shade a big piece and a little piece, and that represents the two areas of building addition. So I wanted to point that out first, and then the really big thing is down here, there's kind of a yellow arrow. That's the existing main entry, right over there. But the new main entry with the new addition is going to be on the north side of the building. So that's the arrow that you see up there, and kind of, I think it's sort of a gray-blue in your printout. And that's probably the biggest piece of information that I want to be sure that you're absorbing, because there's a lot of the addition design and then the traffic design that really flows from this shift of the main entry to the north side. So as you look overall, I'll highlight a few other things. The existing parking lot here, right out here, will remain in place, and its purpose is going to change. So in the future, that'll be based more on staff parking as opposed to visitor parking. So that's going to be a big change. Then the upper portion, the new expanded north parking lot, is going to be where visitors as well as pickup and drop off occur. So you can see that the entry on 51st will happen into that parking lot before cars get to the cul-de-sac areas. So with that, we can go to the next. Okay. So to highlight that just a little bit more, the turn-in is here for, again, all visitors and drop-off. What we've done is we've been working closely with, probably for the last 7 months, a traffic engineer to look at what have the current patterns been and how can the design change those patterns going forward. So that's why we've got a design that has a lot of drop-off space for cars. Those are 2 lanes. So where you see the double arrows, that means 2 lanes of drop-off. And then there are 2 again. So a total of 4 lanes of drop-off. So we're getting a lot of cars stacking now on the site, whereas before we know that they were burdening the neighborhood. Also, this north lot has expanded the number of spaces, and you'll notice all the arrows are going that way because this is a one-way design, and that was something that the traffic engineers advised as well. That's right. So thank you, Teresa. They'll exit, all the cars will exit onto 4th, and it's a right turn only at that point. So to, again, keep that flow going. Okay, next. And we can do some Q&A later. Hopefully you can see the site plan. So a few highlights, because again, your community members, you might just wonder, well, where does play go as things change? So we mentioned that there's a kindergarten addition here. So the K-1-2 play area will be developed on that end of the building. So that's that end of the building. And then closer to where we are is where the grades 3 and 4 will play, both structured playground as well as play pad or play surface. The green circle is a almost half-size football field or practice area. And then the older students who are really focused in this upper wing, again, grades 5 through 8, occupy the 2-story wing up there. They'll be utilizing the play areas closer to that area. So I made a joke with my colleagues here earlier that we forgot to put an arrow on here, so I was going to jump. That's where the new main entry is, on the north side. So the administration, the cafeteria, that is expanded to that side so that all the main entry functions happen up there. Other things as community members you might be interested in is the fact that we're adding a new gymnasium that's larger to host community events, as well as expanding the cafeteria. Then I mentioned the kindergarten classroom addition that's happening here. So again, grades K through 2 are happening over here, grades 3 and 4 here, and grades 5 through 8 in the new 2-story addition up there. And that takes us to the exciting stuff. How do we build it? Okay, before I hand off, thank you, Thad. One thing I want to mention is off of 4th, there will be a new deceleration lane that's developed to help again with that traffic flow. And it's off, it occurs off of this view, off that direction, but it will also be another piece to help mitigate the traffic at 4th and 51st. Thanks, Dad.
That's a good lead off for the boots on the ground kind of construction process. Is that's going to shut down 51st for about a week. So when we're coming through the de-escalation lane right here, this will have to be closed off for a week to pour new concrete and get that in there. So we'll have to have alternate routes around the school just for a week. But essentially that's about the only that's going to be the only areas where we're going to be impacting the rest of the neighborhood. So that's a plus. During the summer, we'll be utilizing the existing parking lots that we have now. Our main construction entrance is going to be right off of 4th. This is one of the first things we're going to try to do to get our construction trailers, all our deliveries, and that way it won't impact anybody on 4th Street and it won't impact anybody in the neighborhood. We're going to have the fence all the way around for safety precautions to make sure nobody gets inside the working area. We'll be starting in the new kindergarten. The new gymnasium will be probably our first one so we can get out of this area so the little kids can have a place to play around. And then we'll also start with the gymnasium and the new addition. Right now it's slated for December of November, December of 21. We have started, like Kent said, one of our main issues at the beginning is we had to relocate a primary electrical line from XL. So that was quite a chore if anybody's dealt with XL. And Joe will talk to you a little bit about it's going to be outside of our project, but they are also going to be doing some line relocations and poles on 4th Street. So he'll kind of get into that a little bit. Again, points of contact. Everybody has a brochure on their chair. Everybody on the construction site, again, we have Joe Otis, Nathaniel Phelps, and then our safety director is Casey Leonards. So we're all available if anybody has any questions or if there's any issues going around. It is nice to have neighbors right here around. We typically work Monday through Friday. We will be doing some pours on the weekends, but Sundays we typically don't work unless we have to. But it's nice to have all the neighbors around here to be able to keep an eye on things, to know if anybody's inside the gates. Joe's phone's always on. It's always nice to be able to contact us if you see any mischief or anything going on, so we'd appreciate some of the help on that aspect. I think that's about it. Do you have anything else to add, Joe? You want to talk about XL a little bit, even though it's not part of our construction?
Yeah, so again, my name is Joe Otis with Sampson. So like Bruce said, the bulk of our construction is going to be on what we have fenced off now over on this east side. But starting next summer, we will end up closing off the whole site. So it will be all closed off because we're going to be doing work on this side. We'll be doing work over there, tearing out those modulars. And so we got a lot of work to do on the whole site. Once we add those new lanes, the site really gets pretty small. I mean, it seems like it's a huge area right now, but as we got this new traffic flow through, it really shrinks everything down. So one thing with this Excel poles, again, as Bruce said, it's not really under us. That's just something they're doing. Those poles have ran their life expectancy. So they're going through and putting single poles through. So it may affect some of you if you live along here, and you'll see some spotty traffic closures. They've already done some large work over here closer to 47th. So they'll be coming down through here, taking those poles out, and there'll be kind of a floating closures for that. So that's really outside of our control, but we're working with them and with Jeff to make sure the kids can still get to school safely. So
we will be also renovating some of the interior classrooms once we get everything on board and our contractors and our bids out. We will create some swing space on the inside that we're working with Jeff and Kent right now. So we'll actually go through, take a couple classrooms, get those all renovated, and then turned over to where we can get kids back into those classes. Well, the main portion of it's going to be during the summer, but if there's any opportunity for us to get anything done and not be in the way, we're going to take advantage of it.
Couple other keynotes. Construction parking. I mean, we know that you guys have problems with just the school kids getting in here, so we're not going to be parking over there in the neighborhood. We'll either be parking on site inside of our limits or off site and actually busing people in. So we don't want to add more to the traffic. So completion, Bruce talked about that a little bit already. We're shooting for winter of 21 with addition and all the new work. And then that 4th Street new turn lane, that work will be next summer. So we don't want to close that off during the school year. I mean, it's already hard enough to get in and out. So that'll take place next summer.
You also won't see a lot of stored materials here. We're going to have to store a lot of our steel. We're either going to have to use timed deliveries for when it's set. We know that this is a very small construction site. And we want to make sure it's safe for everybody. So anything we do have stored material will be inside the fence, but we're going to keep it as minimal as possible.
Bruce and Joe, you mentioned a key point I want to make sure I help amplify, and that is that the temporary modular classroom buildings are going away. And that's really the impetus for this project, is to get those students into quite literally brick and mortar classrooms. And so when you look at the footprint of the building, it's growing by that amount because that's what it takes to get those students into the main part of the building. So thanks for mentioning that those are going away, and I wanted to emphasize that that's really has been the driver for the size of the addition, is to get all those students back in the building.
Essentially, we're doubling the size of the school. So, I mean, this was originally K through 5, and with the 8th grade addition, 7th to 8th grade, it just, I mean, there's a lot of students here, so you need a lot more footage. So,
our main goal here is just to create a non-impact to the community. So, if there's any concerns, questions, feel free to get a hold of me, Joe, just to make sure that we're out of everybody's way and this is a smooth process. Does anybody have any questions? You got to talk in the mic too.
I'm fully capable, I think. So I was looking at you made a lot of comments about the drop off. How is that going to look when we pick up? Do they have like a number tag? I know this is kind of like the Frontier Academy design as we went there before. So just looking at the traffic of the flow, how is that going to work?
Sure, I'm looking over at Jeff because he'll know specifically more about the operations, but I should have said pick up and drop off using that zone. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, so I think that's something that we can address. I think one of the biggest issues we have right now is we can't get enough cars on our property. So you talk about like a Frontiers version, they have like a number and they do that, but they're able to have more cars off site because they have a long road. The only way we could do that is if we had people load in the parking lot or in the neighborhoods, and we don't want to do that. What we found this year is we have straightened up where we have our kids lined up even better outside, and I think that's something that can continue. So we know the cars well when they pull in, and we can get the kids in. I think what we've really seen with the traffic study with the traffic engineer is being able to have more traffic on site and loaded in there. We can get them loaded pretty quickly and out of there. So we feel like we can manage that without having to have a number system or anything, because the number system only works if we can have them outside of our school and then have them pull in. We want to load as many in as we can so they don't feel like they have to be in the neighborhood.
I'm wondering if you could just talk a little bit about site lighting. I have the house that's right next to the basketball court that you got over there, so I'm concerned about noise and lighting.
I'll do my best to address that and might call on my team members to help out. But, you know, for a K-8 level play area, we're not typically looking at doing exterior lighting for those play areas. Those are really during the school day purposed play areas. So we wouldn't be anticipating any dedicated site lighting for that. What I would say to expect is something not so unlike what exists in some areas now would be lighting as required for egress from doors of the building. So building mounted lighting typically. I don't know if I missed anything on that, Joe.
no, I think that's a pretty good summary. It's most of the light fixtures are all mounted on the building, other than through the turn lane and the traffic and parking areas. Nothing so much to the east.
Is there still going to be daycare before school, after school? Is that going to be accommodated in a plan like this?
I think our goal is to continue with ABC. So we have off-site ABC that comes for before and after school daycare. I think we have the ability to accommodate it even better now because as we've grown, we've shrunk their space. But with our expansion of our cafeteria, we actually have the ability to cut our cafeteria into 2 separate spaces. So ABC could have 1 space and use that for after school. And we could still have another space for community space or after school stuff with our own kids for intramurals or extracurricular activities. And I think we have better access having the bigger parking lot on that side as well. So we'll continue that to give families opportunities who work earlier or later hours. So yes, we'll continue that as well. And I think our facility will actually promote it even better. This year it's only... Okay, so what Teresa had said is in previous years, our ABC was used not only by McAuliffe families, but by some other schools. This year, due to COVID constraints, it's only McAuliffe students that use that. So I don't know what that will look like in the future, if that will change.
That we'll do that work next summer, so I can't give you an exact date, but we don't want to do it during the school year. So we're going to try to start it as soon as almost as school gets out next summer. So probably roughly June 1st.
Yeah. So the question, just so we have it and make sure that when will 51st Avenue and 4th Street be closed? Does it work well when we leave little flyers on your doors? Is that the best way to communicate? So we can try to give updates, as we know that major things are going on, especially if it's like closures or anything that we know would have an effect on you guys. So we'll try to keep that regularly going on when we know there's major stuff going on.
No, it'll
No.
just be the actual intersection right at 4th Street.
Yeah,
You'll be able to go
Yeah.
out the back other ways of the neighborhood, just not that specific entrance. No, I'm
No.
sorry. It's just that. There's plenty of room in my house.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
So you mentioned this picture here. This was from the traffic study. So we did have drones flown for us to be able to get an idea what the traffic looked like, and that's how we were able to look at this and make some of these decisions. So absolutely, we tried to catch some of it in action, and you can see it in that picture. You're absolutely right.
I think, too, some of the math in the parking area out front, if I counted right, there's 80, right close to 80 extra parking places on that side.
That's right.
Not the drive-through. So during the day, some of those will be able to hold cars, so that's additional. Plus, this will be available for parking, too. So that's, way more than doubling the available parking and then trying to keep all that traffic out on that side. So they did a really good job of designing. We worked on the design with that, as the city of Greeley, getting permission to have a right-only entry out on 4th Street. And, we do have to put in this Deceleration Lane for the right turn into here. But, that was a big collaborative effort, to try to get that to work out there.
Well, we really appreciate everybody's time.
Yeah, we can snap 'em. till you all want a water bottle on your way out. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll try to keep in communication with you. We'll put updates on Jeff's website too. So if anything comes up.
Yeah, I just want to thank you again for coming in. If there's ever any concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out. I know the traffic's not perfect yet, and we continue to try. I really think that this is going to make big strides in that. But as you see things, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we'll keep working. I continue to try to get messages out and talk to parents in the short term. But long term, I think that this will make a huge difference. And I know Kent said it earlier, but as we looked and as we met last year, it just became, other than getting rid of the portables, that became the second biggest priority for us, just because I know the pain that it has caused you guys, and so we want to get that fixed as well. So we're excited to help you guys out with that. We're also excited for, again, the support that you guys have given us to add on. The kids are super excited, and we're excited for the design and moving our school forward, and just having everyone all together in one space again is going to be amazing. So thank you for that.